one question that has been on my mind for a couple of days. So I've been on this journey for 3 years, and it's been very, very intense, as you all know. Um, and through the journey, I was always very diligent in a way, very motivated, very pushed somehow to accomplish it, to fall and get up, and fall and get up, and fall and get up again and again and again and again. And somehow I've reached a point now after 3 years where I do not feel that anymore. I feel in a way that I arrived, that there is nothing else to do anymore, but also that I do not wish to suffer, that I do not wish anymore at all to go through so much difficulties and trauma, to a point where I actually yesterday spent the whole day crying over what it has been, sort of grieving it and feeling the pain of it all. And my question is simple. Is there a point where we get to finally rest, finally have more normal of a life and be happy?
Mm, yeah, I hope so. Yeah. So there was a turning point for me where for much of my journey, it was very, very intense. The transformations, the healings, the purifications, the initiations were so uncomfortable and intense. And it was like, being in the fire. And I came to appreciate that, somewhat enjoy it. Um, it felt like I was in on the joke that when these initiations happened, it was ultimately good. And the turning point for me was so I would equate that type of transformative energy or transformative quality of this process as being, the energy of Kali, right? The fierce goddess Kali, right? She beheads demons and wears their heads around her neck as beads on her mala, for example, like very fierce. And the turning point for me was on retreat. I was, I had this darshan, this encounter with Durga, or Durga. So Durga is a much more gentle form of Kali, of the Divine Mother. And Durga said, "Hey, like, let's take it easy now. Just be very gentle. Don't expect these intense, fiery initiations like you have been when relating with Kali. It's very gentle and calm, and now your job is just to rest and be patient." And so I was relieved to know that, it didn't have to be so intense. The challenge now with dealing with Durga was it got boring. So I'm on retreat and it's just so quiet. And I described it as feeling like I was in a waiting room during this retreat, just allowing my body to catch up. And so it was a different type of challenge that wasn't chaotic. And it was different. It's different for my nervous system to get used to change. Doesn't have to be so challenging and intense. It can be actually peaceful. Boring is not a bad thing. Calm is not a bad thing. Um, I think we will still, of course, experience the standard human things. People will pass away in our lives. Political stuff is going to happen. Natural disasters. These stuff is going to happen in our lives, right? Things are going to change in our lives. But with understanding the flow, having a deep relationship with God, the universe, feeling in a state of trust, also knowing how to move through stress, how to move through situations that could cause trauma, but actually knowing how to move through them so that we don't have to carry that unnecessarily. That could be something as well. So in my life, I've experienced things that, maybe would traumatize a person, but because of my path and my practices and my trust, in the midst of those challenging experiences, I didn't avoid it. I didn't suppress it. I didn't ball it up. I didn't cope with it with, drugs or something. I just sat with it fully. And it was uncomfortable. But after a short period of time, it no longer is something I carry. And so that's what I think this process actually shows us. It's not that it makes us no longer suffer, I think it shows us how to move through suffering in a much more efficient way where we don't carry it. So things are still going to happen to us, right? Like I said, people are going to pass away in our lives. It's going to hurt. We're going to grieve, but we're going to do that fully, honoring the process. And so after the grief process, I think we don't have to carry that pain anymore, right? So that's what I think this process is setting us up for. And that, of course, will lead to more happiness. But I don't think it's just about happiness. I think it's more about being able to move through the human experience, feeling everything fully, not holding on to things so much, knowing how to surf these waves rather than just constantly getting thrashed around by them. Um, and so at least that's what I'm saying now. Tomorrow, it could this could all go away, and Kali could come back and humble me. And if so, well, so be it. But I think that there is a point where like there is a calm after these intense storms, and I hope that we all can appreciate that and get to a place like that for sure. I think that's what this process is about. It's not meant to be nonstop torture for no reason. I don't think so. How does that feel for you, Aurora?
Yeah, I think I came to a similar idea that life goes on and we're meant to grow, and I love to grow, and I want to keep facing challenges and figure it out always differently, always another facet of me and another facet of how navigate through it. It's beautiful, but yeah, I think the intensity, the regularity of it would be nice if it slowed down at some point,
Yeah.
because like I'm facing challenges for 3 years all the time, but for 4 months, like every day, and every day I cry, and it's uh, it's tiring, and I'm like, hey. And what changed, what shifted, and that is really impressive is that I always had the will to move on, like to do it, to
Mm.
journal. To I was like so invested, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so invested. And now there is a full break inside of me, which is it's the first time I'm feeling this ever, that it's like, no, no more, I don't want to suffer anymore. I do not know if it's the soul that is like, okay, now maybe we need to live life somehow differently, because I do
Mm.
not feel the push inside of me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, these are the markers of these turning points. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
it could be the ego, so that is like, no, thank you very much, guys, but no.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I don't
So
know.
this is also why I really like to orient our process around the idea of service. It just brings everything into perspective. And one way we can see how this idea of service can fit into this paradigm is we can't serve if we are constantly being burned up in some sort of fire and constantly dealing with Kali energy. It doesn't make sense for us to also be called to service. And so naturally, there will come a point where things calm down and they're peaceful so that then we can serve. And so this can also help to orient ourselves around our journey. God's not going to expect you to like heal the world or like, be a great partner or parent or whatever, while also like constantly being tortured by like this intense process. Like it doesn't make sense, right? So that can also evoke some degree of trust that eventually it calms down because you will be called to serve and you have to be in a healthy, stable place in order to do so, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I feel the same. I'm like, how am I supposed to be that person in the world if I have to cry every single day? It's
Right.
hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so sometimes we do
And
have to have those times where we do, kind of go into the cave and cry and process. But around that, like then we can serve. So for me, like there are some times where like I'm not available to do these meetings because I'm going through something. But when I am here, like nothing, I'm not going through anything. It's quiet, it's calm. I'm available to do this. And I think the flow, the divine orchestrates it all really well. So that's something to consider there.